Welcome to the Christian Adventures Global Community. I am so glad that we can be together again. Our online community continues to grow and expand. And we have the opportunity to broadcast in places like Russia and Canada and Norway, Scandinavia, Europe, India, bringing the good news to those who are hurting and need help. And it is our intention, our goal, to do a better job of communicating than we've ever done before to you, our team member, and for you, our partner. Together, we can do big kingdom business. I want to continue my series that I began with the question of how big can possible be in you? You know, our dream, our destiny is wrapped up often in simple questions. How big can possible be in you? How big can your dream be? My simple response to that one is as big as the people you allow into your world. Or it's as big as the people that you are prepared to embrace. As I'm looking at my notes, I'm thinking that, a very long time ago, we had to approach the idea, the concept of a new dream, a new thought. So I would ask you, how does destiny begin? And I would offer to you sometimes the simplest of explanations with simple steps of obedience. Sometimes destiny begins with a question or with a request. Sometimes there is a question that is coming into your life, inquiring of you and asking you to do something that perhaps you'd rather not do. Keep this in mind, because here at Christian Adventures, we believe that we are developing a ministry that is recognized as the world's most respected provider of tent evangelism and mobilization, not only in Russia, not only in Europe, but also in the United States of America. But where did all of that begin? Because often the seeds of greatness that we find are found in or discovered in the most difficult moments of life. So let me backtrack with you just a little bit. The year, I believe, was probably 1995. And Kevin and I, we were just ready to do something else, but the Lord had not released us from Russia. And the missionary families were changing, and there was a little bit of anger, I don't know if the word's anger, dissension among the missionary families, the styles and the way that things were done. So Kevin and I, we made a decision. We were just going to go as far away from Moscow as we possibly could. We knew we weren't released from Russia, so we just determined to go to Vladivostok. Now, do you know where Vladivostok is? Vladivostok is just north of North Korea, and it's right next to China. And it literally means that it is the strong arm of the East. Now, what's funny about this, of all the regions of the ex-Soviet territories that we had been in, that was the one that when we arrived in the city, they refused to honor our visa. And they said to us, well, we didn't issue your visa, so you have no right to be out here. And in reality, the law, the national law, said that we had a right on that visa. And on our visa, it stated Vladivostok. We had a right to be in that city. So there we stood in a hotel. They were refusing to take us. We were in a position we did not know where to go or what to do. And lo and behold, an Indian businessman waltzed into the lobby of that hotel. And he said, "These are my friends, and you will do for them like you do for me." And that Indian businessman out there in the strong arm of the East, because Kevin and I didn't decide, well, let's just run over and go to a nice, comfortable area. We looked at Russia and we said, what is the most difficult area that we could possibly go to? We even knew missionaries because of the intensity of the radiation from the military presence that's in that area. Missionaries who were suffering tremendously from metal poisoning and other difficulties. Yet in our hearts, we thought, as dark as it is, this is where the gospel needs to go. Well, In the mission team that we had the privilege of serving and partnering with at that season of our lives, a wonderful couple by the name of Don and Julie Norris. And Julie Norris has now gone on to be with the Lord in heaven. We were meeting for annual planning, and Kevin and I would help also conduct annual planning for the other missionaries. But as we were sitting there with Don and Julie Norris, planning what Kevin and I were going to do, even though in our hearts we had made the decision that we were going to the strong arm of the East, all of a sudden I had this thought. Ask Don, is there something else he'd rather that you do? Now, when I asked him that, I understood. I think I just intuitively already knew he was going to ask us to stay in Moscow and to help him. Because we were tired and they were tired of some of the complexities that we had been facing with not only the churches and the government and the missionaries. We simply just, it'd been a long haul. So when I looked at Don, he looked back at us and he said, I want you to stay in Moscow. Because you are the couple that can minister to the churches. You can rally them together. You can strengthen them. You can gather them together. You can encourage them. And I don't think there's anyone else on the missionary team right now that can do that. And we need you. So I looked over at Kevin. Kevin kind of looked at me and he said, Leslie, we've already begun telling everybody that we're moving to Vladivostok. And I just looked at Kevin. And Kevin looked at me and he said, can I pray about it? And I said, of course. Don gave us time to pray about it. Is there anything else perhaps that God would rather that you do today than you're currently doing? Or has someone placed that question in your life? Have you decided a direction that you're going to move in, yet God has a course correction for your path? Why? How big can possible be in you? How does destiny begin? Destiny begins very often with the simple steps of obedience. So, the minute that Kevin and I decided if we're staying in Moscow, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 11 regional conferences, and we're going to go all across those ex-Soviet territories. We're going to rally the churches together. We're going to impart vision, encourage them, strengthen them so that they can grow in their communities. And, unbeknownst to us, we did all of that work, and it was not easy. And I want to tell you folks, how do you know the will of God? I've been talking about how big possible can be. But as I was reading the vision that Dr. T.L. shared with us, the letter that he wrote, keeping in mind 110th culmination in the ex-Soviet territories is now at hand. Moving into Europe, placing tents already across Europe, and now 50 tents for 50 states, training 50 evangelists, and we will initiate we call it a soft launch because it's going to be in our own backyard. What does that mean? With the people we know. And you may be one of those who's invited to participate, and maybe God's put it in your heart that 50 tents, 50 evangelists, 50 states is something that you want to run with, and you want to represent your state by coming here to Daytona Beach, Florida to participate this beginning of November in our initial I Move premier boot camp training where you will learn how to do tent evangelism. And this isn't your grandfather's style of evangelism. This isn't, there's another old tent they put up on a corner and they didn't fill with any people. No, folks, that's not effective evangelism. Effective evangelism knows its community, knows its market, knows its target, knows the size that it requires, and knows why it's there. And these are the principles, these are the ideas and concepts that we can teach each one of you. You may not be the pulpit evangelist, but every pulpit evangelist, every team needs someone just like you to run with them. Your talents of administration, your gifts of giving, your ability to organize, to plan, to teach, to work with children, to make costumes, to prepare the music, to write the music, to prepare the books, to make the meals, to be the host of hospitality, to welcome the community, to shine with a smiling face and say, here, now, destiny is happening in our community, and come and see how much God loves you. So as I look at this letter from Dr. T.L. Osborne, I am reminded of what he said to us. He said, I know. Money is your problem. Well, why would he say that? Is that not in faith? Listen, this man who turned the world upside down in his generation many times found himself in a nation needing $100,000 to complete an event, to get out of that nation, to go on to the next towns also. So from experience, he knew what he was talking about. He said, I wish I was the one that could just wave a wand and that would solve all of the problems that would be regarding money. But I have learned, now listen, I have learned that one never makes a decision in God's work based on money. Never. The decision is made on the basis of, is it good for God? Is it good for people? And is it good for you in His service? If the answers are yes, then it is God's will. And He says, yes. Now, what are you going to do about it? Not what am I going to do about it, God says, but what are you going to do about it? You see, the destiny of the Lord, this letter written 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, is still an epistle written to the modern day church of Russia, and it's something that we run by today. And as I lift it up before you, and I know I'm not able to finish all that I'm sharing with you, I know that as I lift this up, as I'm reading it out loud, I know that someone is listening to me today. And I know that you and I can run together in concert, in destiny, fulfilling what God has placed in our hearts to do. How does destiny begin? Just hook up with God and be the answer to the need that is before you. Because the need is where you get to plant the seed of your life, the seed of your heart, the seed of your vision. And listen, if you're needing vision, I'm welcoming you here with us as we raise this premier evangelism, training, tent, and mobilization ministry out of Daytona Beach to the nations of the earth.